Good evening, all. You know, you can work with a man, talk with him, eat with him, and yet still know nothing about him. And you think afterwards, perhaps, in one of those moments, he was trying to find an opening to tell you. The right word, the right phrase might have led to that opening. But it never happened. So most of us remain ignorant of one another. It can happen in offices, factories, shipyards, docks, or the police force.
He had the same dream for, must have been 4 or 5 years. You know how it is, like looking in a mirror at a mirror. At the time, you can't be sure if you're dreaming that you dreamt it before, or whether you really did. And then when you wake, are you awake or just dreaming you're awake? He was in some sort of wasteland. Everything was dead. There were no sounds. But he could smell water, river water. He was sure he was being followed. He used to say he could feel the pressure in his ears, like when you walk in the dark and know there's a wall ahead the moment before you touch it. But there was never anyone there. Somehow he knew that there were several of them and that they were close to him. He'd shout, but he couldn't hear his own voice. He tried to shout again, open his mouth to shout. Once I was awake watching him, his mouth moving, his face covered in sweat. I was scared to wake him in case it gave him a shock. Besides, it was his dream. I didn't really feel any part of it.
Oscar Delta to Panda 5, report your position, please. Oscar Delta to Panda 5, I repeat, report your position, please. Oscar Delta to Panda 5, report my signals. Urgent you report your position. Report your position.
Over here.
As far as Hope Road. No sign of vehicle, over. Oscar Delta to Oscar 4, message received. Wait, please. Oscar Delta to Oscar 3. Sergeant Baker to take 4 men to the Premier Sawmills, search yards leading onto Canal Road, over. Oscar 3, message received. Oscar Delta to Oscar 4, come in, please, over.
Oscar 7 to Oscar Delta. We have found Panda 5.
Oscar 7, repeat, please, over.
We found Panda 5, 300 yards inside the old Orient docks. Cars parked without lights. Personal radios on dashboard and switched on. No sign of driver. Over.
Oscar Delta to all patrols in the vicinity of the old Orient dock. Proceed to southeast gate. Patrols in the vicinity of the old Orient dock. Proceed to southeast gate.
Cut through by Jervis Wharf and over the swing bridge. It's quicker.
You part of that dock in use?
No, sir. It was closed down completely 6 months ago.
How big an area does it cover?
Well, if you include the waste ground to the east of it, nearly 3 square miles. I've got a PLA map if you'd like it.
No, you better come with me. We may have to set up shop down there.
Right, sir.
Feel the engine block.
Stone cold.
Dry?
Damp. Moisture on the plug leads, too.
So, it's been here, what, several hours?
Seems like it.
It must have been dark when he parked it. Why didn't he leave his sidelights on? Maybe he was keeping Oppo on someone. Didn't want him to spot the car. Maybe he switched his radio off as well.
Yeah, true. For that matter, why didn't he take it with him?
So, he came on duty at 10 last night, reported in normally until midnight, but didn't answer your call at 12:30, right?
We tried to raise him on the air at 1:45. I thought at first he was in a dead spot. Can happen if you get tucked in between high buildings.
What time did you start the search?
1 o'clock, I sent the car along its patrol route, and when there was still no trace at 1:35, I ran the flag up.
And we found the car at 6:20 this morning, so that's nearly 5 hours. Checked his home.
Oh, yes. His wife's been with us a couple of hours now.
And where was he at midnight exactly?
Well, he reported from the corner of Mill Lane and Stanhope Road. That's about 3/4 of a mile from the dock.
And the dock is off his beat.
Oh, yes, well off, sir. Otherwise, we might have found the car sooner.
Pull up at the gates. Is there still a telephone connection here?
There's a line as far as the old dock office, sir, but no instrument.
Ask Inspector Knight to get onto the PLA and the post office and have it restored.
Yes, sir.
I see it was about after midnight. Also talked to the early risers, newsagents, cleaners, milkmen. Did anybody see anything, hear anything, or smell anything?
Big block of flats up the road. Gonna need some help.
Well, I'll get Swain over.
What was his last report?
All quiet.
He went off his beat. He must have had a reason. His radio was working. Why didn't he say?
Oh, he's after someone. Didn't get a chance. Who knows?
What do you know about him?
Well, he's been in the force 16 years, sir. Most of it in Kent.
How much I know from his history sheet. What's he like as a copper? As a man?
Well, as you know, he's only been with us 10 weeks.
Long enough to form a judgment?
Well, he's steady, reliable. I've never had to pull him up.
Keen?
Well, he's touching 40.
What does that mean?
Well, it means you don't go out looking for trouble. On the other hand, he wouldn't avoid it.
How's he settled down here?
Well, he doesn't mix a lot, but then most of the lads are younger than him.
Not the sort of man who'd go off on his own and come back with a couple of villains.
Well, if you mean, was he looking for promotion, sir? No.
How do you know?
You can tell.
It's pretty dead round here compared with what it used to be in the old days. As you know, at one time, there used to be a knife fight practically every Saturday night. But now they're pulling down the old streets. All the bully boys are going south of the river.
So you didn't see a police car or a police constable anywhere on your rounds?
Not till after 6 when you're not turned up.
Righto, thanks.
Someone do him up then?
We don't know.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Why? You just said it was quiet around here these days.
Yeah, but with all these foreigners about. I mean, the quick flash of the old knife, you wouldn't hear nothing, would you?
Well, it was all quiet at 4:30 when I opened up the shop.
Well, which way did you come in this morning?
Through the causeway.
Well, then you must have passed the old dock gates.
Yeah.
And no sign of a panda car about 200 yards inside?
Oh, I didn't go inside. Why should I?
You might just have seen it out of your window.
No, sorry. Anyway, it was dark at 4:30 this morning.
All right, thanks very much.
Hey, you might have a word with one of my lads. He usually cuts through the old dock on his way here.
Where will I find him?
Oh, he should be over the flats by now. Name's Peter. He wears a blue anorak.
He was off sick a fortnight ago, wasn't he?
Just a few days, huh?
What was wrong with him?
Well, migraine headaches. Apparently had a nasty knock with an iron bar some years back while he was with the Kent force.
I know about that. How many of these warehouses are there?
8 or 9, sir?
Could take all day, couldn't it?
Yes, sir. There was a heavy rain shower at 3 o'clock this morning, which won't help the dogs.
Right, let's set up shop.
Nothing? No.
But you did come through the old dock?
Yeah,
What time?
about 5:30.
Did you hear anything?
Such as what?
Voices talking on a radio.
No.
Come over to the dock gates with me.
I've got 23 papers to deliver yet.
Oh, they can wait.
Midnight? You're joking, my love. I was flat out long before midnight. She was up, though.
At midnight? I wasn't, you know.
You was up after 11, because I heard you pull the chain.
Well, 11's not midnight, is it?
Oh, I tell you who would have been up. Her on the top floor, number 247. Oh, yes, she might know. Some nights she comes in God knows what time.
It was 1:30 on Tuesday and the same last Saturday.
No, it was later last Saturday, because I had to get up to see to the kiddie about 2, and I heard her coming across by the bike shed.
We're not interested in last Saturday.
Yeah, funny though, her bloke never comes here though, innit? She always goes to him.
Well, we don't know she's got a bloke. Not for sure, do we?
Well, she must have, else what's she doing out that time of night?
All right, ladies. Thank you very much.
Yeah, one of them panda cars, was it? The ones with the stripes?
That's right.
There was one round here the other night, parked down by the old dock gate.
We're not interested in the other night, just last night.
Oh, but that's been here 2 or 3 times, because Fred saw it. He reckoned they were watching out for someone.
Yeah.
Sarge,
Right, I'm coming. Thank you, ladies.
his wife's over at the dock office if you want to see her.
You take the top floor. I've done with this lot. All Cinderella's in bed by midnight. But apparently some woman in flat 247 keeps late out.
Right.
Oh, excuse me. What was the number?
Number of what?
This policeman's car.
But if you didn't see it, it's not going to help.
But wait a minute. Roy! Me kid collects police car numbers.
He does what?
He collects police car numbers.
Ah.
Hang on a minute, don't go away. Roy! Where are you? What was it?
NNC 730H.
Roy! You got it? NNC 730H. In your book? What? Yes, he has.
Sergeant?
Right.
Oh, just testing, Harry. Can you give us a call back on 4?
I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
That's all right.
Yeah, Harry.
Number 3 warehouse
Yeah.
has been searched, Sergeant.
Right. Okay. Just draw a signal on 3 again.
Is there any way we can go this quiet?
Under the corridor, I'm afraid.
I'm sorry about this.
Yeah, that's better. Right, Squire, it's all yours.
Thanks. Oh, it's Dixon here. Would you get hold of Chief Superintendent Bannister for me, please?
Yes, I know.
It's a large area. We really can't be certain he's here.
But where else could he be if his car was here?
You don't have any relatives in London?
Have you got a line to
Relatives?
Yes, Sergeant.
Not here.
Now.
Why?
Well, obviously, we've got to think of every possibility. Well, first of all, we check the hospital. And,
I've got division on the line for you, sir.
I'll be with you in a minute.
Right.
You get me Inspector Prescott.
Yes, sir.
Hey, George, isn't there another room somewhere?
Well, there's a lumber room through there, but there's no chairs.
Oh, we'll do without chairs. I'm sorry.
As far as here?
Yeah.
Then where?
Then I cut straight across to the South Ferry Road.
Okay.
Oscar 3.
Forbes.
Message received. Oscar Delta to Oscar 4. Come in, please. Over.
Would you walk up as far as the Panda for me? Keep your radio at half volume.
Okay.
To Oscar Control. The ground's a bit soggy here. Found some bootmarks, but it's hard to say how fresh they are. Boots or shoes? Hang on. Could be either. About size 9 to 10, I reckon. Just a single line of them. All right, put a marker. We'll send someone over to have a look at them.
Can you hear that?
Yeah?
But you didn't hear it when you crossed over here this morning.
No. But then I wouldn't, would I?
Why not?
I had some.
Sorry to get you up.
That's all right.
I'm from Dockery Police, CID.
What?
We're trying to find anyone who was up and about around this area after midnight last night. Were you by any chance?
What's this about?
We think something may have happened to one of our officers. There may have been a disturbance of some sort. If you were up and about and you heard anything at all suspicious, it could help us.
Oh, I was out till just after 1, yes.
Were you in this area all the time?
Well, more or less. One of your officers?
Yes, he was in a Panda car.
What happened to him?
We don't know. He's disappeared.
What's his name?
Police Constable Norman.
Norman.
Yes. Why, do you know him?
Oh, no. No, I don't.
We've a control post set up in the old dock offices. When you're dressed, would you mind coming over and having a chat with one of my colleagues?
I have to get to work.
It's very important, madam.
Oh. Very well.
Oh, that was when... September 65, 5 years ago. He was in hospital for 4 weeks altogether, and then another 3 weeks convalescent.
And after that, he was quite fit for duty.
That's what the doctor said. I always maintain he was never really right after that.
In what way?
Well, he used to go silent a lot in the evenings. I'd say something and he just wouldn't answer, although I know he'd heard.
But you put that down to civil things.
Oh, I know it sounds silly. But when you've been married to somebody for all those years, you know when he's changed. It was as if somehow he couldn't get his mind to work. I can't explain it.
Did you, tell your doctor about this?
He refused to go to the doctor. He said he was perfectly all right.
Did he ever lose his memory for any length of time?
No. But sometimes, making out a report, he'd get stuck for a word. Quite a simple word, but it had gone out of his head.
This attack on him. I haven't actually read the report. What happened?
He went into this warehouse on his own. It was pitch dark. These villains must have been standing by the door right behind him. One of them hit him over the back of the head with an iron bar. He was lucky to survive, I suppose. They were never caught.
Yes, I know.
They just left him for dead.
And this was in Chatham?
Yes. The naval dockyards. Funny it should have been a dockyard. When I got here, it reminded me.
Let's start with the most likely. He was following someone, presumably in a vehicle. That's why he went so far off his patrol. Went into the old docks, left his car, went on foot to see what they were up to, got clobbered.
In which case, we would have found him by now.
Depends how far he went. We haven't searched the Wasteland yet.
Whoever did him might have put him in a car and dumped him somewhere else.
That, too, is a possibility. Though there's no sign of a struggle.
But that leaves the question open of why he didn't take his radio with him. At least while he was following.
That's the main snag to this argument. You've checked his personal radio?
It works perfectly.
Second possibility. He felt faint, went out to get some fresh air. I've had a word with the super at Chatham. They say he's a fit man despite the injury.
His wife seemed to think otherwise.
He was examined by our surgeon a fortnight ago and declared fit for duty.
And what does that mean, sir? He's got all his teeth?
All right. Doctors can be wrong. But still the same question. If he's collapsed, why haven't we found him yet?
Well, as you said earlier, sir, it depends on how far he went.
Where have we got to, Sergeant?
All the ground has been covered now, sir, within 1.5 mile radius of his car.
Long walk for a sick man.
There is another possibility. The last we heard from him, he was in Mill Lane. Now, supposing they did him up there, that would explain why there was no radio call. They took the car, drove it to the old docks, and dumped it.
And left the radio on.
Well, maybe listening out to see if any of our cars were in the area.
And didn't switch it off when they left it.
In a hurry to get out. Couldn't find the switch.
No.
Well, left it in the car to fool us.
You think we're searching the wrong area?
It's a thought.
Oh, Mill Lane's a built-up area. People have been on the streets now for 3 hours. Yes?
A few empty houses round Mill Lane. You better send someone down there.
Right. Tell them to leave it where it is. It may not be necessary, sir. They found something.
Let's have a look at it.
It's damp, sir. Must have been there a while.
Sheet of a station memo pad.
Was it screwed up?
No, sir, but it had been.
Well, I can see that. Start searching this area for cigarette ends.
Cigarette end, sir?
Cigarette ends.
Just say that again.
Why, he collects police car numbers.
Why?
Well, he keeps them amused, I suppose.
He used to collect train numbers, but he's got them all now.
I see. Well, go on.
Well, I keep an eye open for him, and if I spot any he hasn't got, I'll let him know.
You mean kids don't even do their own spotting these days?
Yeah, but I like to help him out, you know, show interest.
Here's his book. It's very neat.
He doesn't log the times the cars come around by any chance.
Oh, no, just the numbers.
Panda number's about 4 pages in.
And you saw a Panda car with this number plate when?
What would it be? Tuesday?
And Saturday, wasn't it?
Saturday? Well, I can't remember. I know I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times.
Do you remember when you first saw it?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps a month ago?
What page is it on first?
3.
Oh, that's right. That'd be about a month ago.
And where was it on each occasion?
Well, twice I think it was parked just inside the old dock gates. The other couple of times it was, well, you know, moving about and I didn't take much notice.
And you'd swear that this was the number?
Definitely, yeah. I wrote it down for him. That is definitely the number.
Each time?
Yeah, each time.
Did you see it last night?
No, I wasn't on late turn last night.
I'm sorry about the decor.
Not to worry.
I think Detective Constable Swain has told you what this search is all about, so we can skip the preliminaries, can we?
You've lost a policeman.
You might say that.
What's the latest?
Well, no progress, I'm afraid. I gather you were around here sometime around 1 o'clock this morning?
Yes.
In a car or on foot?
Well, both.
Near those dock gates?
Yes.
Mrs. Perry.
Miss.
I'm sorry, Miss Perry. I'm not inquiring into your private affairs.
But you are.
All right, I am. My only interest is to find out whether you heard anything or saw anything that might help us.
I see.
Well, did you?
I don't really know how to answer that.
Just tell me, that's all.
I don't think anything I might say would help you.
Well, let me be the judge of that. Miss Perry, if you were doing something you don't want anyone to know about, if you were out with a married man or whatever, it will not go out of this room. But we need every scrap of information we can get, and we need it urgently.
Very well. I was out with a married man.
I'm only interested insofar as I'd like to talk to him as well.
But you can't find him.
I see.
Strange. It's almost eerie, so recognizable.
In what way?
This dream he always had. I suppose it's bits you put together in your mind, really, isn't it? I mean the docks, Chatham docks. Docks look much the same.
And this?
It reminds me of Dartford marshes. We used to live near Dartford once.
If you'd like me to take you back now, Mrs. Norman.
In a moment.
We've got some refreshments laid on near the South Perimeter Road.
Yes, all right. But I don't want to go far. I want to be close.
It's quite close.
Do you know why he wanted to come here?
Here? To Dock Green?
Yes.
Well, no. I've never asked him. Don't you know?
He said several times he wanted to move. I thought he meant move to another country district. We'd always lived in the country. He used to say he hated towns. Then suddenly he came home and said he'd resigned and was going to join the Metropolitan Force. Go to Dock Green.
He specifically mentioned Dock Green, not just any part of the Met.
He said Dock Green, yes. I suppose it wouldn't be...
What?
No, not after all this time.
What were you going to say?
For nearly a year after the attack, he was obsessed with finding these men. When he came off duty, he used to go to the cafes and pubs where the local villains were, hoping to hear something.
Was this official or unofficial?
Is there much difference in our sort of life?
Oh, perhaps not. No, I meant, did they know at Chatham Nick?
Well, he thought they didn't, but I'm sure they did. Anyway, I'm wasting time talking to you like this. You want to get on?
Go on, Mrs. Norman.
Well, one night he came home very late. I asked him where he'd been, and he said to the docks. This warehouse, apparently, where he'd been attacked. It turns out he'd been just standing there for the best part of an hour in the dark.
Did he say why?
He said it helped him to remember. He always believed he heard a voice before he blacked out, and he swore this voice had an East London accent.
Oh, that's not much to go on.
That's what Kent's CID told him. But it was enough for him. He was convinced he'd been attacked by a gang from East London. Perhaps that's really why he wanted to come here. He was still looking for them.
Altogether, they found 4 stubs, sir, all tinged with lipstick.
Interesting.
I imagine he emptied his ashtray in the paper so as to leave no trace when he turned his car in.
Yes, he probably stuffed them in his pocket, intending to chuck them away when he got out of the car.
Yes.
Oh, don't run away, Lauderdale. I may have a little job for you in a minute.
How many times had you met him before?
Several.
Over what period?
Almost since he came here.
And what was the arrangement?
I'd walk down to the old dock gates. There was hardly ever anyone around. He'd meet me there. First of all, when he was on day duty, we'd just meet for an hour in the evenings.
And when he went on to nights?
At the start, it would only be for 10 minutes or quarter of an hour. Last couple of weeks, it's been longer.
What about last night?
We talked, and the time just went. Suddenly, about 12:30, the police station called him on the radio to go and check a burglar alarm or something. What are you doing?
Just making sure you're telling the truth, that's all.
Why wouldn't I?
And when there's a hunt on like this, you'd be surprised how many people try and get in on the act. A bit of drama.
Are you satisfied now?
Carry on.
We got a call from the police station.
I asked him, aren't you going to answer it? And he just said, what the hell? He was in a strange mood, very depressed. More depressed than I'd ever seen him before.
What time did you leave him?
About 1:15.
And where was he when you left him?
I couldn't say exactly. It was quite dark. We'd gone for a walk. Then I said I really must get home, and I left.
Any idea how far you'd walked and in which direction?
As I say, it was quite dark.
If you tried to walk again in daylight, do you think it would help?
Possibly.
Take her over there, will you? Just a minute, miss. Do you remember if the car lights were on or off when you left it?
Off. He didn't want to be seen from the road.
And the radio?
He always left that on in case he got a call.
What was his call sign?
Panda 5.
Okay. Oh, one other thing. Perhaps you'd let us have your front door key, would you?
I'm not hiding him, if that's what you think.
Lauderdale, take this lady's key, would you? Thank you. You better check and make sure.
Right, sir.
So?
Where's Mrs. Norman?
I got Dixon to keep it out of the way. Things are bad enough for her as it is. Or may prove to be before the day's out.
There was a huge building to the right of us. Must have been this warehouse.
Remember what the ground was like underfoot? Hard or soft?
Hard. It was a road. I could see that in the light of his torch.
Uh-huh.
We weren't lovers, if that's what you're thinking.
I didn't ask you.
I know. But he always used to say the police force is full of gossip, so we might as well get it straight.
How long were you walking for?
About 20 minutes, I suppose. 25.
Slowly or quickly?
Slowly. We were talking.
What about?
His problems, mainly.
Which were?
Oh, he had a lot of problems.
Had or has?
Has, I suppose.
And nothing he said indicated what he was going to do or where he was going after he left you?
He just said he was going to walk for a bit and think. That he wanted to be on his own.
Anything here you recognize?
We stopped for a couple of minutes by what looked to me like an old boat.
I know. He never indicated to you he might be looking for someone.
What kind of someone?
A gang?
He used to talk a lot about that when we first met, but not recently.
Where did you first meet?
Chatham, in the hospital.
She's a nurse, apparently.
Really? I somehow got it fixed in my head she was something else.
No, sir. She does private nursing here.
How long has she been in the Green, then?
7 or 8 months. The flat belongs to her mother. In fact, she came back to look after her mother.
And Norman followed as soon as he could get a transfer.
Well, I don't know if it was that or not, sir. Her mother knew nothing about him. She thought she went out late to see a private patient.
I had a long talk with him last week.
Yeah? Well, you must be about the only one who has.
He found out my father was in the church, so he started talking to me about God.
God?
He has a theory we're all wrong about God. We always assume that God is good. But maybe he isn't. Maybe God's a villain. That's why he lets villains go free.
Anything else he said?
Just that I should get out of the force while I'm still young, not waste my life.
He thinks it's a waste, does he?
According to his theory, if God's on the other side, it must be. But why did he join? I think he was just feeling depressed that night.
Sergeant! Over here!
Looks as though someone's put the boot in.
Is there access to that area there?
There used to be, sir, by a causeway between the two basins.
And what's here?
A power station, sir.
And the other side of warehouses, right?
Yes, sir.
So its southern side butts onto the Thames?
That's right, sir.
Right, first get me the river, please, then let's get out there.
Superintendent,
Just a minute, driver.
do you mind if I come along?
You're sure you wouldn't sooner let us take you home? We'll call you the moment we get some news.
No, I want to come with you, please.
All right. Dixon, bring Mrs. Norman along.
Now, you three take the far end, the ground floor. Right. Patterson and Breed, you take the top floor. The rest of you report to Sergeant Wills at the lock gate.
You know he was studying for his sergeant's exams or whatever they're called before he got the injury.
I didn't, no.
He blames the injury for not passing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure it was just that.
No?
Things weren't really right at home.
I see.
He always said he couldn't talk to her, that she wasn't really interested. But who knows? Other people's marriages look different from the outside.
But he could talk to you.
I was an ear.
And a bed?
He was right. You policemen spend so long looking at the underbelly of life, it destroys you.
Some it does. Others go to the other extreme, become incurable romantics,
Schizophrenics.
if you like.
That was his trouble. He couldn't be a schizophrenic. Otherwise he might have survived.
Survived? Aren't you being a bit premature?
Survived the police force, I meant.
Can you try and find Sergeant Crawford for me, please? Yeah, thanks. Did he ever talk to you about leaving it?
Often. But he was convinced he'd suffer some sort of brain injury. If he hung on with the police force, he'd be all right. You see, he believed they all knew he was not quite right. But they were just being kind and ignoring it. I don't think it was true, but he thought it. He believed he'd never get an outside job.
Andy? How about that torch? I've had a good look at it. The only prints on it are his own. It seems to me just throw it away and it smashed on impact, okay?
I'll hang on till you find something out, if I may.
Well, we'd like you to hang on anyway.
So long as I'm kept clear of his wife, eh?
But that's the romantic in us.
Leave that alone.
He could smell the water. It was part of his dream.
But you've mostly lived by rivers, Mrs. Norman, both at Chatham and Dartford. It doesn't seem unnatural to me.
I think people can see ahead.
Why don't you let me take you back now?
A mirror, in a mirror, in a mirror. That's what he said.
Try him again. Water confuses dogs.
Chief Superintendent Bannister, please. Sergeant Crawford.
Yes?
Message from the river police, sir. They've just removed a body from the river about 2 miles downstream on the southern bank. The uniform bears the number 462. Identification confirmed. Indications are that the body has been in the water for 6 or 7 hours. Probable cause of death would appear to be drowning. Preliminary investigation shows no injuries other than an old scar on the crown of the head. The body is being transferred.
Went too near the edge. It was dark. Tripped over that wire. Well, yes, but, have you got any other theories?
Well, it depends on what he was doing here, doesn't it?
On duty, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
And that is what appeared in the official report. There were no witnesses, only private thoughts. In my own opinion, P.C. Norman died as a result of an attack by persons unknown in a Chatham warehouse 5 years ago. But that's just my opinion. The coroner's verdict was death by misadventure, and none of us would quarrel with that. Good night, all.